Wait, free parking downtown SLO? Just park in the new structure at Nipomo and Palm. And dine at La Esquina and get 2 hours of validated parking. Free parking downtown SLO. Park, eat, validate, done. Learn more at slowfreeparking.com.
You're Up and Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Is here.
Up and Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Thank you so much for being Up and Adam. I was not going to be doing a show today because we are very much in a family time of some transitions, and it's why I have had to take a few days off, more of which I will explain later. But it is election day, and I had this pre-recorded conversation with Jimmy Paulding, and I wanted to make sure it got out of fairness to him. Things with my dad have obviously made scheduling this show a challenge, and I also talked to Jimmy late in the process, and this was just when it worked. Now, I am not relegated by the FCC, so I don't even have to do things with, quote, equal time. But I liked all 4 of my chats with these candidates, and I wanted to be fair to get this out in time so someone could hear it and make up their minds. Without further ado, my conversation with Jimmy Paulding. Thanks, Jimmy, for being Up and Adam.
Hey, my pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
The new SLO Studios.
This is really, really a cool spot.
Yeah. And then you got to walk through Visit SLO. I don't know if you've ever been here before.
I had not seen their offices. Yeah, I've talked with their staff, but hadn't seen the cool location they're in.
Yeah, no, this is like the hub of all the tourism for the county.
Yeah.
You know, and so like there's a lot of brain power going into coming from this building that's kind of going out into how our county is seen by so many that come and visit here.
I love it. We also have the Cal Poly Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship across the street.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
nice, there's a lot
spot
going on here. How has this election been? I haven't talked to you in a minute. I see you at events all the time. You and your wife are very community, activated. You're all over the place. Have they ever asked you to do, I think the last time I saw you was from far away. We didn't get a chance to connect though. Lumina.
Yes, and you did a great job
thank
hosting,
you.
of course. And they had asked me to participate in the dance in the prior one, and I declined. And my wife was like, "We should do it." But the thing is I'm just not a great dancer. Like, I really just don't have the dance skills.
Yeah. So it's like, why am I going to go out there and look silly?
I would have to work really, really hard, and I've been choosing to put that time in, serving my constituents. But
now, to be honest, like Joel Peterson, I'm not going to say he was like the greatest dancer ever, but when you watched him and you were just like, God, he's really trying hard. He's kicking ass.
I thought he did great.
I think he did great too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying he's obviously not like who was Eric Yoon or the Eric dude with the hip hop, or like
killed it,
or like Heather Moreno.
Yeah,
like oh my God.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I still think it's so cool that he got up there.
Jeanette Trumpeter, and so did Bruce Gibson, and you're not going to get me to say who did the best.
Yeah. No, I thought it was, I thought Bruce and his lovely wife were, I don't think I've ever seen Bruce, Bruce has a really nice smile.
Mm-hmm.
I've never, every time you see pictures of him on like the dais, you guys are all like serious and stuff.
Well, we do
and
serious business.
Yeah, he's such a friendly, and I might disagree with him on some things like Diablo and stuff, but like he was a really fun, amiable. His wife is lovely.
Yeah, sure. She's great.
I just really enjoyed meeting him. And I was like, dude, you need to come on the show. So I thought that was really cool. And I love having moments like this because I don't look at these experiences and ideas as always being so partisan.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's tough.
That's good.
I feel like you guys are always like about the letter that's next to your name or this or that. And I don't know. I just feel like for a community like this, whether it's mayor, even supervisor, like it's nice to just look at these as like, look, we all live here. We all want this to be the best community possible. So that's kind of how I look at it.
I appreciate that. That's refreshing. And, for my race, there is no R or D after our names. Technically, county supervisor is nonpartisan under the state constitution. I think people forget that. And, one of the things I hope we talk about is, since I've been serving for the last 3.5 years, we have changed the culture at the board level. I mean, we do talk civilly and respectfully together. We work on, building consensus over the issues. And generally, I think we've changed the culture, and that signals and transfers down onto the organization. And and I think that SLO County government is in good shape.
Well, you have to have 5 people who are willing to, have decorum, play by the rules. And it's seemingly, even if there are differences of opinion, you have 5 that are willing to be, like you said, civil and friendly and hey, we're all neighbors really here.
Right. And we have that now. And that hasn't been the case in the past.
Yeah. You might be in the most contested race of everything going on, right? I mean, I feel like the Woody Dantona race is kind of like, okay, I've had them both in. The Woody conversation's going to air soon, depending on when this one's, I might have just aired. But I feel like you and Adam Verdon's race are there's really a lot of you know what I mean? There's a lot going on.
We both have our theme songs going. As we walk and knock doors and try to make the case to the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's been a couple things. One, and I guess this is where it happens. It's and because there's maybe not a lot going on here, the little things make headlines where it's like, Jim Dantona says he can't work with Dan Dow. And then you're like, why would you say that? I don't know. And you go, okay. And then there's oh, is there dark money in here? Or did Adam Verdon do this? Did he have too many donations or whatever it is? Yeah. When these things happen,
he did actually, yeah.
He did. Well, no, but I mean, that thing just got squashed. It was because one was for now, one was for later. Well, is that not right?
Yeah, it got squashed, but he had to give the money back. So, at the end of the day, I'm glad I filed the complaint because he could have continued to stack extra donations and earmark them for an election that was never going to take place.
But do you think did that feel like the way that played out in the media was a win for you? Because I don't know that it played out as a win.
I don't know. I mean, I think it netted out probably, in a way that didn't really mean too much to the voters.
Normally, those things take a while to even get the person who, yes or no. And the thing got squashed within the weekend, didn't it?
Yeah.
So that had to look like it must have felt like it got deflated quickly. It did. I imagine the political idea was this thing can last a long time. This can maybe hurt him in the long run, but it seemed to kind of go away pretty quick.
Well, so that I think has probably been what my opponent has said. Oh, he was hoping, that this would create a longer term investigation scenario. What I wanted was to make sure that he wasn't taking double developer donations, and he had taken double developer donations. We set a limit at $5,900, and he took twice that.
Yeah.
And so what they said is, you have to, you can do that legally, but you have to give the money back if there is no general election. That's the thing. He knew that there were only 2 candidates in the race. He took the money anyway, and he had to give it back. And those are the facts.
So because there's only 2, so no matter what, someone's going to win.
When the deadline closed to file, and it was clear there were only 2 candidates, he then had to return the money. Got it.
Okay. And then there was this whole, what's this dark, and I know you're going to have your opinion, so I get wherever you're coming from, but the idea of, because, he responded to it, and I know it's been in the papers, this idea of where money is coming from, and are they filing it in specific ways? How do you respond to that? And do you have to do with these there might be organizations that are raising money for you because they want you to become supervisor that you have nothing to do with. Yep. How do you kind of feel that?
Well, first and foremost, I have a problem with Citizens United, which was an infamous Supreme Court decision that basically said you can have unlimited money in politics. And that is why when I got elected, I supported lowering our campaign contribution limits from $25,000 per person, business or political action committee down to the state limit. At the time, it was $5,500. That's been adjusted to $5,900. So I took those steps. Now, of course, what we couldn't do is tackle independent expenditure political action committees, outside groups that spend independently of the candidate. So in this case, there is the South County Coalition PAC that has supported a number of local candidates, including myself. And then in his case, there's actually the Lincoln Club out of North County, who is supported by a Central Coast Strong PAC that's dumping a bunch of money in the race right now and putting out these negative attack ads saying, a number of falsities. So we're seeing, the influence of money that is harder to track. In that particular case, when you look at their filings, you can't figure out where the money's coming from, where they're even registered. And it's pretty hypocritical that he tried to say that I was somehow coordinating with the other PAC when I absolutely wasn't. They were spending independently. And then now that same thing is happening in his case. And in his case, we don't even know, who's actually making those donations. In my case, it was all publicly disclosed.
And then when Dan Dow is like addressing this in the media, is he talking about both sides? Do you feel he's talking about just your side, or how do you kind of look at the way it's being reacted to?
Well, I think that he was involved and made comments with regard to the South County coalition, but he hasn't said anything about this other PAC.
Why is Dan Dow being talked about so much in this election? I'm kind of like, who's Dan Dow's agent? He's getting a lot of press right now because you have Jim D'Antona, who's like gets asked the question like about like working with him, and we were talking to Michael Aaron Woody, and he was like, did he really just answer that way? Like, I don't understand. Why would and I had Jim D'Antona near. He's a very affable, amiable guy. Mm-hmm. Why do you think he would answer that like that? And how would you have answered a question about your ability to work with District Attorney Dan Dow, or for that matter, anybody else?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. And I think the question asked during the debate was, will you work with the district attorney, or how will you work with the district attorney? And my response would be, I work with everybody, and I have worked with everybody and have a demonstrated track record of doing that. We have, as a board, put public safety first, and that means our sheriff, our CAL FIRE County Fire Department, our probation department, district attorney, all of those important public safety services that we as a county provide have been a top priority, and all of my budget decisions have reflected that.
Do you think that an answer like that is like almost like Tom Folks or the party going, let's whip up some, if we can whip up a little of this against Dan Dow, maybe we can kind of get some, let's stir it up a little bit. Do you think, why else would you say that?
Well, I can't speak to what Mr. D'Antona was thinking, but I mean, it is true. And it would be, we would be remiss not to, talk about the fact that the DA does go out and use his personal social media to, take positions on national issues and show his support, for President Trump, and is very vocal in that space. And I think sometimes those comments make people question whether, he's going to be impartial and unbiased and neutral in his prosecutorial duties.
Should politicians not put stuff on their personal socials? What do you think? I mean, like, did you ever put a black square on your thing, or did you ever do like a George Floyd? You know what I mean? Like BLM. I don't know. Like, should people just go like, I'm going to stick to my issues and da 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 da?
I think the answer is, or the question isn't, should politicians do X, Y, or Z? It's what should local politicians do? And I think that actually underscores this tension around what we were talking about earlier, whether this role as a county supervisor, whether a role as a prosecutor, whether a role as an elections official is a partisan role or not. And I think, the history is that, and what we even see in our U.S. or in our California state constitution is that these are nonpartisan jobs. We should all work together. The Board of Supervisors shouldn't be wearing an R or a D, on their shoulders and engaging in that in discussions based on that ideology, but based on what is good for the community. And I think that has been my track record, is to really focus on the issues, to deliver on homelessness, where we've seen a 42% reduction in unsheltered homelessness since I've been in office over the last 3.5 years. The fact that we have delivered $14 million for a new Nipomo sheriff substation in Nipomo, where I actually sat down with the sheriff and said, hey, this is a big priority for me. I know it's a priority for you. Nipomo is the fastest growing unincorporated community. How can we get this done? And then he came to meetings and we both advocated and we got the funding. Or adding 3 firefighters to our fire engines in Nipomo, where they were at 2 before, which was below the national standard.
Oh my gosh.
That's like getting stuff done, focusing on results and delivering for the community. And I think that's what local elected officials should do. And that's what the community expects. So the more that they're using their social media and platform to engage on national issues that are incredibly polarizing, I think the less trust that builds in those elected officials at the local level.
Okay, last down question, and that is, there's this talk of like budgets and this and that, and where the soups stand on that, and it's dangerously close to an election, even though it's really not an election because it falls after. Where do we stand on that?
Well, the district attorney attended our last board meeting and spoke out during public comment when we were talking about our budget. That was not the formal budget hearings, which will take place on June 6th. And he basically said, look, the proposed recommendations from the chief executive office are not good enough for him. And he wants to see 5 extra positions added. And that includes folks in victim witness, an elder abuse prosecutor, a paralegal, and some other positions. And so the process here is that out of the 26 departments that we have at the County of San Luis Obispo, each department head can come to us during the budget hearings, and it's referred to as coming at issue, and basically lodge their complaint. If they have an issue with what the executive office is recommending, the Board of Supervisors then has an opportunity to hear that issue, deliberate based on all the facts and information that has been presented in the budget documents, based on all the information we hear at that hearing, and then make a final decision. And so in this particular case, the DA is, going out to the public and saying, hey, you should be aware of this. You should write letters to the Board of Supervisors and, engaging in a bit of a pressure campaign. The typical process would be attend the meeting on the 6th.
Because the election's right here, and it's probably with that in mind, no?
I don't know. I don't know that it's timed if you're talking about the District 4 race. I think he's just saying, look, I want to be prioritized. So make sure you prioritize me in the context of the budget hearings.
Tell me about your district a little bit, where you see you've improved it, and where do you still see some T's need to be crossed and I's need to be dotted, and kind of like, I'm not quite done.
On the budget?
No, on specifically your district.
Oh, in my district. Well, that's a big question. I love it. It implicates the idea of, what I want to do in my next 4 years if the people reelect me. And so I talked about some of the accomplishments, the sheriff's substation, the fire staffing. We actually just celebrated we had a ribbon cutting ceremony for a new $800,000 park playground in Oceano this morning. Bunch of kids and families were there. It was an awesome occasion. And that was a big investment, not just for the new play structure, making it more ADA compatible, but all of the ways to get to that particular play structure. And
did you eat at Old Wands?
I did not eat the Old Ones, but I used to eat at Old Ones more than I do now. In fact, I used to eat there a lot growing up as a kid when it was known as Spanish Cease. It was one of my favorite restaurants. But yeah, so just going down the list, those are some big wins that I've worked really hard to bring to the community. Another one would be that's kind of an active project that I have not been able to accomplish is a conversation with the YMCA about locating and building a new community recreation center in the community of Nipomo. And they've done a demand study that determined that there are enough people there. I mentioned that it's the fastest growing community in the unincorporated area. We're within the Nipomo Community Services District, 18,000 people. But when you look at the whole Mesa, 24,000 people with 2,500 units of development or housing coming.
Wow.
So we're talking getting to that, 35,000 person population.
And is that
within the next 10, 15 years?
That's crazy. And is that Mesa number? That's a lot of people. I had no idea.
It isn't a city. They don't have a city council. They don't have city departments.
That's not Mesa or Rio Grande.
That would be including the AG Mesa as well.
Yeah. It's interesting. I lived up there for a little time. It's a different world up there.
Yeah.
It is really interesting.
It's an awesome world up there.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's really cool. So Oceano.
Yeah. So I was talking about Oceano, another project there that will be under construction next year. I was able to secure $1.2 million in grant funds to do a bunch of safe routes to school in and around Oceano Elementary School. In fact, quick story this morning, literally a kid named Ian it was with his mom, Brianne. She came up and said, Ian has a question for you. I was like, oh, well, what is it? We're celebrating this new playground. He said, Supervisor, I don't think he said Supervisor Paulding. I think he called me Jimmy, but he asked, when are we getting new sidewalks in front of our house? Yeah. And then I had to look at the map and determine whether or not this new Safe Routes project is going to actually provide fill the gap in sidewalk in front of their house. I'm not quite sure. I have to check on that. But that took a lot of advocacy, and it really was about the partnerships with the school districts. They have the Oceano Elementary School has a great group of people that are with the PTA, and they have a Safe Routes committee. And so, those are kind of the types of work that I've been up to. And then, into the future, going back to Nipomo, and I got to talk about AG and give some AG some love as well. We're working on a library remodel there. We're going to have a beautiful, newly remodeled library for the community. I'll come back to AG, but going to Nipomo, we have this plan. So when I got elected, I'm looking at our planning documents. I studied city and regional planning at Cal Poly. That was my undergrad. And, of course, later went to law school and was in that field for a while. But when I looked at our plan and saw that it hadn't been updated in 30 years, I was like, okay, Nipomo is, again, growing. It's got these needs. How do we make sure that the infrastructure and services and facilities are there to support the growth? And so we've now for 2 years have been going through this process of engaging the community, done workshops and surveys. One of the surveys, we had about 1,200 responses. And, the issues that are ranking up there, traffic congestion, the need for more walkability and bikeability, that connectivity in the community. They want to see the Old Town part of Nipomo revitalized, so it's not just Jocko's and everything.
Right.
But that it really has some, let's grow on that history and that charm.
Towns are doing that here to great success. I mean, look at the way Atascadero has,
totally revitalized that downtown.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great idea.
So our plan, the Nipomo Community Plan, now has I know this gets a little bit wonky, but a public facilities financing infrastructure plan component that lays out a set of financing strategies to help fund a number of these improvements, including park improvements for the community of Nipomo. So those are the kinds of things that I'll be working to implement next, in the next term, should I be reelected.
You ever gone to the Melodrama?
I have. I love the Melodrama.
So much fun.
So much fun.
I love it. That's probably one of my favorite places on the Central Coast for sure. Let's talk Diablo.
Okay. Yeah.
Where do we stand with Diablo? It needs to be open, right?
Absolutely. Yep. And I have supported the 20-year extension. The key is that the federal government, through the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, has rendered their safety findings saying, let's extend it. Absolutely. That approval is in place. The next step is working with our California state legislature to make sure that they make the basically legislate an extension of 20 years. And what we see right now is that, Senator Laird, along with Assemblymember Addis, have sponsored a bill to restore the equivalent of the unitary tax that will generate local revenue for our schools and local government, which is really important, something we've relied on. But that's only for the 2025 to 2030 period. It doesn't contemplate the 20-year extension beyond. And so we'll be working with them and hope that we'll see that leadership in Sacramento to make sure that happens.
When you look at like new technology and how it might affect the Central Coast and like offshore wind, things like that, do you go, okay, we got the wildlife, we got the fishing community. Oh, of course, we love renewables. How do you look at like an issue like that?
Well, I take a step back, just like I talk about, needing long-term water supplies for our region. We're pursuing an ocean desal project right now, basically working with the 7 cities, the community services districts, the county of Santa Barbara, trying to enjoy the economies of scale associated with a big regional project. And, that's going to be underway for the next probably 15 years to secure that new resource in the future. I use the analogy when I talk about water that we need a diversified portfolio. Same applies to energy, right? So all these different things, whether it's nuclear, it could, solar has been a huge component of our grid here locally. Offshore wind is an interesting one. When we look at the politics around it here locally, the concerns, I think what a lot of people thought was, well, just like we have an environmental impact report that's done for any type of development project inland or on our coast here, they should be doing the same, at sea. And those processes are in place. But I think there's a lot of information out there that suggests a level of impact that people just are really concerned about. And then we've seen the Trump administration basically hit the pause button or try to kill these projects. And so I just don't know that it's something we can rely on in the future.
When you talk about like batteries and stuff, do you think like things like Moss Landing was almost like a thinly veiled blessing? Like, oh, good, we can get this off our plate because like nobody wants this. Or do you think like these batteries and these things were a good idea for here?
Yeah, well, going back to the portfolio, I think utility scale battery storage is an important aspect of how we operate the grid and how we store energy and we control prices and all of that. I think the location is the really key component there. And, that's been a big criticism of my opponent, basically saying there wasn't enough outreach on the battery storage project in Nipomo and that the notification rules weren't stringent enough or weren't good enough. And I actually, voted to modify those rules. It only notified people within 300 feet of the project. And then, of course, published in the newspaper. And it did go to the South County Advisory Council. But we've changed those to at least 1,000 feet now for any battery storage project in the future. And while we're talking about this, I do want to just clear up what my opponent has said. He said, well, I went on Dave Congleton's show and lied because I said I wasn't involved in the project. But he's taking that comment out of context. Dave was actually referencing a hit piece that my opponent wrote in Cal Coast News saying Paulding fails Nipomo after the Moss Landing event occurred. And what he was saying is he didn't do enough outreach. And so I was responding to Dave Congleton saying, Yeah, that project wasn't on my radar at the time because, in fact, it had been approved by the Planning Commission 6 months to me being into office. It was never appealed to the Board of Supervisors. What my opponent then says is, well, we have these emails that show that you were communicating with the developer. And those emails were from 18 months later after the project was approved when the developer reached out to my office for help getting, in touch with the fire marshal. And so he's manipulating the timeline and it's dirty politics.
Do you feel like so dirty politics? Do you feel like he's doing this? I mean, use the word manipulating. He's doing this on purpose.
His number one attack is based on a lie. Alleging that I lied on a show when I didn't. You can listen to the whole show. And I was clearly saying it wasn't on my radar in the context of answering the question around the approval process. If Dave Congleton had said, what was the extent of your involvement? Were you ever contacted by the developer? Did you have any contact with the developer and when? I would have said, well, 18 months after it was approved, they reached out to my office and I helped them like I would any business or property owner or developer. So I think it's very interesting because I think to some extent his lie in this case has been heard by a lot of people, and it's unfortunate.
After batteries, I want to talk about data centers because I feel like this is even more of a conversation you're hearing now. And I haven't really heard anything like locally, but as AI gets more prevalent everywhere, data centers are becoming a really big thing, building them, the electricity. I mean, some communities are being told like we're going to be diverting a certain amount of electricity for these data centers. Mm-hmm. Has the talk been putting anything here? What do you think about these things? Could SLO could we benefit from these data centers or not at all? What do you think about these? It's so new.
Well, first I have to just acknowledge that you use the term SLO. I still haven't come around to it. I'm sorry. I get why it's an important marketing term and it really helps distinguish us from the broader Central Coast. But when I say SLO to my constituents, they're like, what are you talking about?
That's why it's nomenclature.
SLO County.
Let's pause there because I love this because this is exactly why we're trying to address the nomenclature because there are different things here than Santa Barbara. And we're very different than Monterey.
We're SLO County.
Yeah. Yeah. But SLO County.
But SLO Cal,
is there something you don't like about it?
I mean, it's just, I think it in some ways it's that like advertising, marketing speak. It works well. It works well for all the reasons we just discussed. But then when you talk to the locals, they're like, "What the heck are you talking about?" Right?
Yeah.
So at some point, maybe that changes in the future. But
you're a lawyer and a politician. You can't understand. I mean, of course, you understand the value of coining something and calling something, owning a term,
branding,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Branding.
I mean, my slogan is South County Strong.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you what I think that embodies if you'd like. But,
Okay. So I kind of interrupted you because I wanted to.
You want to talk about AI and data centers?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, to my knowledge, we haven't had any proposals. The reason I say to my knowledge is because sometimes there are pre-application reviews where we're not looped in until the project becomes a formal project. But I've not heard a single thing about somebody trying to build a data center here in SLO County. I would have, just out of the gate, a lot of concerns and a lot of questions and would want to make sure that any kind of proposed project would be safe. I think safe is one thing. The environmental impacts is another thing. And we're learning a lot about these centers. I think we're also letting AI just the conversation around AI and the lack of regulatory controls is a problem. We're just letting this conversation move super fast without conversations around what the implications of AI are going to be for our future.
What do you think the implications of AI should be for our future?
Well, I'm not going to say what I think they should be because I'm not an expert necessarily in this particular case. I think AI in general, the pace at which we are becoming reliant upon it. I mean, even if let's talk about Chat GPT or whatever, right? As a lawyer, I would generally value my writing skills, right? And I do. But the more you basically farm that out, the less, you're going to be strengthening your reading and writing skills.
There's an aspect of that for sure.
Well, we've talked a long time about critical thinking and making sure that programs and K through 12 and et cetera really make sure we're producing generations of critical thinkers. Like, is AI doing that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think, a lot of people, it depends on the way you use it. I mean, some people are using AI to do things literally for them. I prefer to use AI to help my efficiency and do things with it.
Right.
And I have found that it's especially, I mean, I'm a business of one.
Yeah.
And I find that it's incredibly helpful. I mean, it's massively helpful if you use it right.
Right.
I mean, like I literally can show you a website that I built just by vibe coding it, and it's a sick website. They used to cost people $4,000 to a company to do. I did it in an hour for a lot less. And I know there are jobs, like, unfortunately.
Right. That's where my mind went. At some point, we're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah. But rather than maybe like a graphic designer bitching and moaning going, "Wah, AI just took my job," how about you as a graphic designer now use AI to do 4 times more production than you did before? I mean, that's the way I kind of look at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. It is growing super quick too.
Right. No, like anything, it's a tool, and we just need to, be educating folks on the benefits, the negative aspects of it, and doing what we can as a society to use it for good.
Yes.
And sometimes I think that we forget to, focus on that goal.
How do you use AI in your life?
I would say, just using Chat GBT and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Would be the way that I am. Yeah.
Do you have like Alexa at home or anything like that? Hey,
No,
Google, do
no.
you have that?
Mm-mm.
No. A little Chat GPT, huh? That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like simple, like,
I mean, I've messed around with Google Gemini too.
yeah.
But,
Is it like a glorified Google? Are you like just like saying, "Hey, I got 3 things in the fridge. What can I make with this?" Or are you kind of going, "Hey, I wrote this thing. Look for places, help me, be a little proofreader on this."
I say edit for grammar and syntax.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. See, and then it's totally cool.
Yeah.
Here's a lawyer using it. See, right?
Yes. Although the legal profession is going through some growing pains as it relates to AI as well. I mean, just think about the legal databasing, right? Like Westlaw or Lexis.
Yeah.
Where you're going in there, and now you can use these AI tools. And of course, we've seen cases where attorneys are using AI, and it's citing case law that doesn't exist.
I know,
and the
that's
implications
crazy.
are profound in a negative way. Again, if the person using it isn't disciplined or educated on how to use it.
What's that one story
or
a couple years
ethical
ago?
too.
For sure. What's that one story a couple years ago where like a guy like fully like did his own case or something, like, and just used AI? I mean, it's crazy, but it's totally.
Well, we had that locally with someone being prosecuted who indicated they were using ChatGPT as their lawyer. Yeah.
Oh my God. That was a local one?
That was.
I'm trying to think of that. That kind of vaguely sounds like deja vu familiar, but I can't place it. That's so crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, that is really crazy. So what is the hardest part about running for office? What part are you like, fuck, am I really doing this? What am I doing?
Well, the hardest part is trying to do everything all at once, right? You want to be out there walking and knocking and talking to the voters. That's where it's at. That's where the magic is. Those one-on-one connections, door to door. And I've walked over, and knocked over 1,000 doors easy. Probably going to hit 2,000. That's personally. And then, then there's I've got to make sure that, we're engaging in a robust, advertising campaign, so the broader public sees my messages and sees what I've accomplished and hopefully votes for me. And so that means, I've got some TV ads going and social media and radio and all that kind of stuff. So I think for a candidate at a local race like this, it's hard to manage all those aspects of the campaign while doing the job in this case, which, I'm still meeting constituents for office hours and showing up to board meetings that go 8 hours. And what folks probably don't realize is that District 4 is one of the busiest districts, or the busiest district, because of the fact that, I've got about 60,000 constituents, 42,000 of them don't live in a city. So, we've got the city of Rio Grande, 18,000 people, but everybody else, when they need something, they call my office, and I have one staff, the same number of staff that each of the other offices have, even though some districts might have 3 cities in their district, which have, city councils and mayors and people to call. And so it's a very busy job. And then doing the campaigning on top of it makes for a busy few months.
When a newcomer comes into the fray, you go, okay, well, all right. And then they've never, I'm been in this position. I got the name recognition. When does it go like, oh man, this is, I've got to really pay attention here and feel, you can't really take anybody for granted, in this political climate, right? But how does that kind of like hit your emotions and how you kind of deal with it? Like, okay, someone's coming in, newcomer, got to weigh it out, feel them out, blah, blah, blah.
Well, first and foremost, I believe in democracy and, in this case, competition of ideas and values and perspectives. And so it's great. when we have people run for office. And that's what makes for, giving people choices and ultimately hopefully ending up with the best choice. So in this particular case, I would say my opponent kind of right out of the gate was sending negative attack ads in the mail and kind of earned a reputation for that. People are like, wow, whoa, he's going negative hard. He hasn't even sent out a piece of mail that was positive and talked about who he is and what he wants to accomplish. He went straight to the take Jimmy down phase, which I think probably backfired. And I hear a lot, from folks that are like, I won't even look at his mail. It's all negative. In my case, again, I've been trying to focus on my record, all the things that I have delivered, the things that I want to continue to do in the next 4 years, and that this is all about public service. For me, my dad was a San Luis Obispo police officer. My mom was a local teacher. My sister's a teacher at Cal Poly. The family is all about public service, and that's why I'm here. I could be making plenty of money, out as an attorney doing that work, but instead choose to do this job. And I really enjoy it. It has been the honor and privilege of my life to get to serve the community that I grew up in.
I can't understand why people get into this. That's crazy to me. I mean, especially with a chin like that, you could have done news.
It's about doing something bigger. It's about serving. It's about just the moment today when these kids were just ecstatic at, seeing this playground that I fought for. Yeah. So we need to prioritize Oceano. It's an economically disadvantaged community. It needs to be first on the list. This playground needs to go here. I tell this story often. I had one day where someone reached out saying, hey, there are dogs that are urinating on a light post, Supervisor, and I'd like you to take care of that problem. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's a problem?
But then the next call I got was a woman who, her son was being released from prison, and he had actually tried to murder her before. And she was really worried that he, upon release would do that again. I was able to contact our probation chief. He got a geofence around her house that would notify her if her son came within a close proximity to her, and that gave her peace of mind. And, that was just a small thing that I could do by making a call, but I really helped her in that moment. And so this job has the potential to help so many people. And that's why I'm here doing it.
Everybody wants to know what you did with the light post.
The light post, I think I just said, that's we might have other priorities at the moment.
Okay, let's talk about homelessness for a second. And I don't want you to tell me it's an affordable housing issue. I want to be real about, because everyone agrees, no matter where you stand, the single mom that loses her job and is now in her car, like everybody wants a net for that person or people like that. Like it's just, I can't imagine one person who doesn't. But the mentally ill, the drug addicted, you're on Higuera, Nipomo, and someone's banging on your window on a red light. What do you think we should be doing about that?
Well, I think we should be doing what we are doing. And what we are doing is multifaceted, right? It's not just a one and done. It's a combination of things. So first and foremost, we do have to provide the housing. Because if somebody wants to get sober, if they want to treat their mental health issue, we need to be able to put them in a place where they're able to get those services and that treatment. And so when you look at the work at the 5 Cities Homeless Coalition or SLO or Echo,
incredible.
They're all incredible. And, the one in SLO here that we're just completing, the 54 units of interim and permanent supportive housing, which is Good Samaritan coming from Santa Maria, they'll operate that facility.
Cool.
Those models work, and they're 90-day programs. So it's you come in, we house you, we serve you, and we try to then reunify you to your with your family or get permanent housing. I like to share the story of a guy named Joey I met at the Stone Soup Festival in Grover Beach. I was working a booth. He comes up to me and it's like, hey, Jimmy, I support you and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's great. Which are you in my district? And he just said, well, I'm homeless. I'm on the street. I'm an alcoholic, and I could smell alcohol on his breath. But he didn't want me to help him at that point in time. But later he reached out to my office and said, hey, I think that I'm ready to get help.
That's incredible.
Put him in touch with the 5 Cities Homeless Coalition. They got him a bed. I didn't know this though, that he finally got a bed. And I met him when I toured their facility, and he's like, Jimmy, I'm sober. I'm drinking coffee now. I'm playing my harmonica. Life's good. And it was this really, really cool moment. Well, then he later reached out and told me when he got permanent housing in Morro Bay. And so for the Joeys of the world, it works. And I think they deal with a 60 to 65% success rate. There is a category of folks that are on the streets that aren't going to take the help.
Right.
And they're using drugs, and maybe they're self-medicating, but they've got,
and it's an alarmingly high percentage. It's more than it's enough where we should be the conversation should be there just for a minute.
I think as a society, one of the things that we have not done is said we are, as a government, going to take away the autonomy, the rights of these individuals and house them and treat them in a locked facility.
Right.
That's the thing that, civil justice, social justice, civil rights advocates have said we shouldn't do.
Is that like an 80s thing, like a Reagan thing?
Well, the Reagan thing was, we're not going to have these mass institutions where people are in, squalor conditions and, it's not working, the insane asylums essentially. And we're just, the realignment process put it back on the counties to figure it out without funding. And here we are doing the best we can. Again, in the county, though, 42% reduction in unsheltered homelessness is real.
That's awesome.
And the other piece that I have to mention is the outreach. And that's based on relationships. So, growing up, when I'd go on a ride along with my dad with SLO PD, a lot of the memories I have were interfacing with homeless and SLO in the creeks, right? And the way that he would approach policing was, it was all about community policing. He knew them by name, but he also knew the pastors and the business owners and the teachers and everybody in the community. And I'm a major proponent of community policing. But when I contrast that to the model where we are today, now we have dedicated social worker cops, basically our community action teams, that are going out there building the relationships and trying to offer them housing and services when they need it. And actually, one of the things we fixed when I got elected, and I learned, actually, this was a ride along in a Atascadero with their cat team, hiking around in the creeks. They told me that when somebody asked for help and wanted to get sober, it took 30 days to get them into the facility, which if you're a person living in the creek, you're not like, oh, let me set my alarm for 30 days or my calendar for 30 days.
Sure.
And, they've lost their phone or they're no longer sober. Or wanting to get sober. And so we fixed that. And so now people can get right in and to our sobering center, which is another facility we offered. Yeah. So this whole continuum of care and services is what we need. And, and it's working. So we just got to continue to fund it. And
I was just talking to Eric A. Stewart in here, and she was, we talked about this, and I love seeing little wins. I live in SLO. So I love seeing little wins in town, whether it's like you're pulling around Marsh, you're coming in town, you see the graffiti and the vagrant trash, but then you see it cleaned up, and then it's cleaned up quicker, and then it's not there the next time, and then it's not there the next time, and that's what I love those little wins, because that's what makes the town feel a little bit more safer, better.
Absolutely, and that implicates the other side of the coin. I like to use compassion with order, right? We talked about compassion, approaching people with compassion, helping them get back on their feet, the humanity. But the order side, we need order in our community. We need to protect and enhance the quality of life for everybody that lives in our community. So the families going to the playground or the park, our streets, our sidewalks, our local businesses, all need to have a safe, comfortable, clean community. And so that has been generally the strategy, is compassion with order. We're going to try to offer folks services, and if they take it, great. If they don't, we're not going to allow you to encamp on our sidewalk or in the riverbed or whatever.
You do look at some of these organizations like Echo, and you're like, gosh, these should be models. Like, is the state looking at that? Like, they're such great models of how to do it right.
Well, and it does go back to having a strategic plan, right? Not to end homelessness, but to reduce it by 50% over a 5-6 year period. We also have dedicated funding, dedicated resources. We have a homeless services division now at the county in the Department of Social Services that we didn't used to have.
Wow.
They're able to, we didn't even have an encampment resolution policy and process before, I was in office.
Yeah.
We actually worked through that process. So now we have the Sheriff's Department, the Homeless Services Division, the Public Works Department. They all coordinate to make sure that we can do those things. So it's important to have a plan, implement the plan, and resource the plan.
All right, and I did this to him too. Say something nice, genuinely kind and nice about Adam Burden.
I can do that. And it's something that I've said before. You had mentioned earlier, did you know the guy or whatever? And it's like, yeah, actually he had reached out and we sat down for coffee one time and we talked about our shared vision for the Oceano Airport. There was a group that wanted to shut it down. Said, hey, we think that this would be better turned into a park or, a natural open space. And my whole thing was, how much that would cost to do that? And by the way, we can make this better for the community, because their allegation was it's, a small group of, private pilots that use this airport. It takes up a lot of land area for the community. How do we make it more of a community asset? So I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's create a business plan, and was able to get the board 5-0 to, develop a resolution saying we support this airport. We want to make it more accessible to the community. please do direct the airport's department to develop a business plan. And one of the components of that has been linking to education and K through 12 and this career technical education program that Mr. Verdin has been instrumental in making happen. And so I would commend him for those partnerships and also say, hey, keep doing that stuff. That's great. And let me be county supervisor.
What do you think? I didn't even ask you about the dunes.
The dunes, my approach has always been one of balance. This is where we disagree. He's like, hey, let's
play on the dunes.
OHV is the thing. It's all about recreation. It's all about the economy. And I'm saying, well, there is the environmental thing.
What, the snowy plover? What is it?
Well, there's a whole number of species, and it is this one-of-a-kind dune complex that comes with endangered, sensitive, or environmentally sensitive habitat area and whatnot. It is the beach, and we've had this air quality problem where basically we have this giant dust plume of really fine particles
going up on the mesa.
Yeah.
Do they find out that wasn't really from? Where did that end up? That big study.
Where that ended up is that the subject matter experts who advise the Air Pollution Control District board have been right the whole time, and that we have been able to, through mitigation and dust controls, bring those the dust, basically the emissions down. And we've improved the air quality. We've seen a 40% reduction over year over year in emissions. And so we've essentially shown that we can balance all the things. We can allow recreation, we can protect the environment, and we can mitigate the air quality issue. But what that took was an adherence to facts and science and subject matter experts. We have a scientific advisory group that advises the Air Pollution Control District Board. I've been serving on that board for now 7.5 years. And we've been doing the work, and we've achieved this giant win-win that nobody talks about, because all people want to do is say, well, is it a problem or is it not a problem, or do we care, or was it just, removing those eucalyptus trees that was that were the natural filter, and shame on the people that did that, and
they're invasive.
They go back. Well, but these are all red herrings. The issue is that we exceed state and federal air quality standards quite often. Yeah. We should try to fix it if we can. And we fixed it. Mm-hmm. Like, that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. That's the real issue.
But so you're measured, play on the dunes, don't play on the dunes.
Yeah, go play on the dunes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've supported the off-road vehicle riding. In fact, I used to grow up.
Have you ever done it?
I grew up riding out there.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been on ATVs and motorcycles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I've also supported the environment, and I've supported the public health issues. And I think any county supervisor that represents this district needs to, represent all those issues and balance those issues. And that's what I've done.
You can't do a day job and do this, can you?
I still operate my law practice.
Do you really? Or do you have people that operate it kind of as it's a system, it's a business that runs outside of Jimmy. It's system dependent, not Jimmy dependent. It's my wife and I that run the law practice. I imagine it's very tough to run a full-time job and be a
couple of Fridays a month, no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Why should we vote if we are in District 4?
Yes, District 4.
Why should we vote for Jimmy Paulding?
I'll give you the pitch. My opponent will say, oh, well, he's a business guy, so he's going to help improve government. Well, all of my experience in the past was in the private sector. I worked for 2 companies, Vanner Construction Management, Arcadis North America. I brought a project management mentality, so I'm about getting stuff done to government. I also operate a business, and I'm a lawyer. I bring that skill set to the table. I talked about my education at Cal Poly, State and Regional Planning, right? All these things, all these skills I'm referencing and using for the public good. And I've shown that we can get stuff done. I mean, there are things we talked about, the sheriff's substation and firefighters and all those different things. But there's so much more that we can do together. And I think that, it takes a while to learn this job, to, develop relationships with all the staff, with colleagues, with the community. And I'm in a position to, even get quite a lot more done. And so I think it would be wise as a voter listening to support me, give me a shot, another 4 years. And, maybe Verdin runs and gets elected in the future.
Would you have any aspirations for
4 years at a time? This is my tour of duty is the way I look at it.
When does Senator Laird end? In 28? I don't know.
2028?
I don't know. So do you ever think of other things beyond that, or what?
My problem with Sacramento is that there's too much groupthink. And DC, look at how dysfunctional it is. I mean, so my focus at this point in time is this job that I love. I mean, it's cool. I get to run into people at the grocery store, in the community. I'm serving the community, voting on really, really important matters. I think I have values that the majority of the community wants to see. realized and in the voting of their supervisor.
Yeah. What is the website? How do people learn more about?
JimmyPaulding.org.
Okay, JimmyPaulding.org. We'll put the links in the show notes. Well,
Sounds
this was
good.
fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
It was great to chat with you. I do enjoy seeing you at all the events and your lovely wife. It's so much fun to run into you guys. And I look forward to seeing you more again. And thanks for coming in and thanks for having a nice, I love chats. When are you going to have a chat like this? I love this.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. This was great. And you have a really cool studio and nice setup and really nice dogs too. I know you can't see those, but I love your dogs.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you again for being Up and Adam.
All right. Thanks for having me. Take care.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start again.